Hey guys, good morning. I'm out here. It is raining. I've got some pretty good storms. A couple of big thunderstorms already rolled through. I've got a pretty good cell that's moving in. So right now I've got the tarp set up. You can see it above me. So the tarp is set up and I've got my stuff here. It's dry. And so I'm gonna finish setting stuff up. And then when that big storm rolls in, we're gonna be here to test it out. Okay, so I'm set up. I've got the underquilt on, and so I'm gonna get in, get everything zipped up, and wait for the storm to roll in. Okay, so I am in here. I've got the rain coming down, and as of right now, everything looks pretty good. Looks like I'm gonna stay dry, but I'm waiting for that other cell to come in, and when it hits here, we'll know how this thing's working. Let's take a look at the radar. So here is the radar. As you can see, we've got this yellow spot there, but then there's some of those with the reds, and those are the ones that I'm waiting for them to come in. They keep shrinking, but hopefully they stay alive enough to come here and hit me. Okay, so it's not raining all that hard. There's been thunder around, a little bit of a breeze. As you can see down here, it is blowing the end out a little bit. Not a big deal. But what I have noticed is that some adjustments are going to have to be made to this. It's not quite where it needs to be. Now, when I pull it up so that it's over my shoulder here, what it does is it pulls down this side. And while I feel like this is where it needs it, the truth is I've got more coverage right here with the tarp than I do right here. And so if you look right here, if we come out a little bit, that is down quite a bit. And so any water that's coming from right here is hitting my underquilt, which is right here. So this needs to be up higher on this side, which means less netting. So what I can do is if I bunch up the netting right here, it pulls it up where it needs to be. So something like a hair tie to hold that would work for right now, but it's not quite right. And so it's something that's gonna have to be worked on. And the same for the other end, where I've got it up over my foot end of the underquilt on the opposite side, which while I feel like it needs it over here because that's where my quilt is, there's more coverage with the tarp right there than over here where I'm pretty close to the edge. And so I've got to have this pulled up so that it covers it. Another thing I'm noticing as you hear the thunder rumbling, while it's got enough coverage, there's too much of the bug net. So I mean, if I was to pull this so that it's tight, there's just wads of bug net and it hangs down quite a bit. So there's just too much bug net. Probably, oh man, lengthwise probably 8 to 10 inches too much. And then what I would like to do is actually offset the sides so they're not quite straight, but they're biased to, you know, the way that this comes up, the way that the hammock comes up this way, have the protector come up this way as well. I think that would help a lot. And then maybe, rather than just having this sewn, having some shot cord in there to bunch it up to keep it cinched. That might help as well. Okay, so here's what I've done that has taken up the slack and gotten it where I want it. So I took a handful of material, bug netting, on the head end, foot side, and on the foot end, head side, and wadded it up, created a tube, and created a knot in it. And I did the same thing right here. You see that knot. And what that knot did was it took up enough slack that it brings the edge right here up so that it protects my underquilt, and it's still up where I want it on the foot end, and it comes up a lot higher right up here. You can see I've actually got it pulled to the point where it's right there. So that should be the protection that I'm looking for. Just a little bit too much bug net on this. Hey guys, so a little bit different than what I had planned on doing this weekend. So originally, Chris and I were going to be out on first a kayaking trip, but then with all the weather that was coming in, we decided to change it to a backpacking trip because the water levels were going to be pretty high, and with all the thunder and lightning around, thunderstorms, being on water probably wasn't the smartest idea. So we decided to change it up, and we were going to do a backpacking trip. Had a couple different ideas on where we were going to go. Unfortunately, on Thursday, I injured myself and have to go in on Monday to meet with a surgeon, find out when I can go in to have surgery and fix what I messed up. So things change. You got to adapt, overcome. At least I'm still out here. I told you guys I was going to be getting some testing in, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm out here testing under the tarp, in the rain, thunderstorms all around. So getting a good test to see where this thing shines, what we still need to do for adjustments. And, you know, I told you guys I was going to be honest with you. And I have found some things that need to be changed with this. That's part of the prototype process. You go out, you test, you make changes, you adapt. The end product ends up being better. Woohoo! That one was pretty close. Assemblies are for idiots. Just laying here, watching some Netflix, my hang time hook, and just letting the rain come down. Okay, so this storm is pretty much winding down. Rain's coming to an end. There were some periods of some pretty heavy downpour. I don't know if you can see out there. Where my stake is, you can see there's a puddle on the ground. You can see the same thing over here. Yeah, there were periods where it was coming down pretty good, but it wasn't a serious storm where there was a lot of wind, a lot of gusting. What I will say is I've gotten out and taken a look. The stuff that I've got sitting directly below me has a lot of splashback on it. My backpack, my shoes, my rain jacket has a lot of splashback on it. The protector, the sock, has some water at the head end, like up in this area, right in here. There's a good amount of water that had hit it. Nothing came through. I felt on the inside. Everything has stayed dry. There's splashback on the bottom. So it did what it was intended to do. It kept this underquilt, the hammock, everything dry when the tarp wasn't able to cover quite as well as it could have. Now, like I said, I'm not going to take this tarp out if I know storms like what I was getting today were coming in, were in the forecast. This isn't the tarp I'm going to take. I'm going to take something like my hammock gear, standard tarp with doors, the Dyneema one, or I'm going to take my 12-foot hanger tarp, which just has a ton of coverage. Something like that's what I'm going to take when I know there's storms rolling in. But if you're out and you're trying to go ultralight and the forecast looks good, but there might be a passing storm, something like this is a great option. Keeps the weight down and still gives you pretty good coverage. Like I said, there's still some tweaks that are going to have to happen to this. The fact that I've got these knots tied, one on this end and one right down here on the foot end. I think probably 3 inches more of the argon on the bottom on each side coming up is going to wrap around a little bit better and give the coverage that I really would like to have, and a little bit less of the bug net, both lengthwise and widthwise. I think is going to make this a little bit more effective. So tweaks are still to come. We'll keep working on this and try and get the best product absolutely possible. So now that it's pretty much stopped raining, let's take a look at the outside and see how it's worked. So here you can actually see the coverage. So you've got the tarp, which comes out a decent amount, but you can see right here, this is where I am actually most concerned, is right in this area. And you can see this has quite a bit of water droplets on it, but on the inside nothing came through. Down here you can see little spots where there are water drops on there, and there's some mud from a little bit of splashback down here. You can see my stuff that was sitting down below, even though it is well in from the outside, had some splashback on it from when it was a little bit heavier rain. But you've got some wet spots. You can see that I had that knot right there that really pulled this up quite a bit because it was hanging probably down here. So I've raised it up a good 6 to 8 inches easy. But those sill ends worked out really well to, you can see here, there would have been an issue. There would have been an issue right here for sure. If we come around to the other side, not much going on this side. The wind was really coming mostly from the other side. You've got a couple of drops here, but nothing much. And, you know, I would say all in all, it did what we were looking for it to do. Just needs a little bit of tweaking to get it right.